The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3 Episode 7 is where everything starts to unravel. After that unexpected closeness between Belly and Conrad in the last episode, the tension is at an all-time high. It's not just awkward anymore, it's dangerous. Every glance, every word, every pause feels heavier now. Like they're both carrying secrets neither of them is ready to say out loud. And with Jeremiah still pushing forward with the wedding, completely unaware of just how much has shifted, we're heading straight into a storm. By the time this episode is over, someone's going to be left questioning everything they thought they knew about love, loyalty, and where they truly belong. From the very first scene of episode 7, it's clear that the closeness between Belly and Conrad in the last episode isn't something either of them can just brush off. Belly's trying to play it cool, going through her day like nothing happened. But you can feel the tension in every interaction. She's distracted, she's quieter than usual. And even when Jeremiah's talking to her about wedding plans, her mind isn't really there. You know that look when someone's in the room with you physically, but their head is somewhere else entirely? That's Belly right now, and Jeremiah can feel it. He's not the type to immediately call it out, but you can see him starting to piece things together. He's thinking back to all those tiny moments when Conrad's name came up and Belly's face changed. Those little slips that didn't seem like much at the time are suddenly connecting into something bigger. Jeremiah's the kind of guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. But that also means he feels things deeply, and when he starts to feel replaced, it hits him hard. In this episode, we see him trying to keep a smile on his face, but you can tell it's slipping. He's making more subtle comments about Conrad, sometimes joking, sometimes not. Like when Belly mentions needing help with something and Jeremiah says, "Why don't you just ask Conrad?" and then laughs it off like it's nothing, but it's not nothing. That's the jealousy talking, and the more Belly avoids the topic, the louder it's going to get in his head. Meanwhile, Conrad isn't exactly making things easier. He's not flaunting anything, but he's also not keeping his distance like he used to. It's the little things, offering to help Belly with errands, making sure she's comfortable, remembering small details about her that most people wouldn't. It's subtle, but it's enough for anyone paying attention to notice. And Belly is definitely noticing. She doesn't want to admit it, maybe not even to herself. But every time Conrad does something thoughtful, she feels that old pull. And that's dangerous, especially with the wedding so close. The real kicker in this first part of the episode comes when the three of them, Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah, end up in the same conversation. It's casual at first, just about some family plans, but there's an undercurrent of tension. Conrad says something that makes Belly laugh, and Jeremiah catches it. It's such a small moment, but it says so much. Belly's laugh is unguarded, the kind you can't fake, and Jeremiah knows it. You can practically see the thought crossing his mind, "She never laughs like that with me anymore." That's the kind of thing that sticks, the kind of thing that builds resentment. What's interesting is that neither Belly nor Conrad is intentionally trying to hurt Jeremiah. They're both caught up in this complicated history, and honestly, I think part of them is still trying to figure out where they stand. But in the process, they're leaving Jeremiah in the dark, and that's going to have consequences. Because Jeremiah is not the kind of guy to just sit back forever when he feels cornered. He pushes back, and if he decides to confront either of them, the truth is going to come spilling out in a way that none of them are ready for. The first section of this episode lays the groundwork for all of that. You've got unspoken feelings hanging in the air, subtle signs of jealousy, and a growing sense that something is about to snap. Every glance, every half smile, every awkward pause is a reminder that this love triangle isn't as settled as everyone thought. And if there's one thing we've learned from Cousins Beach, it's that the truth always finds a way out, no matter how much it hurts. As the day moves forward, Belly tries to drown herself in wedding preparations, thinking maybe if she stays busy enough, she won't have time to think about Conrad. But you can tell it's not working. Every little thing seems to remind her of him. When she's at the florist, she remembers how Conrad once picked her favorite flowers without even asking. When she's looking at table settings, she flashes back to the summer nights when Conrad would set up dinner outside just so she could watch the sunset while they ate. These aren't memories she's looking for, they're just there, uninvited, and the more they come, the harder it is for her to focus on Jeremiah. Jeremiah, on the other hand, is in problem-solving mode. He's talking to vendors, making phone calls, and trying to make everything perfect. But you can see the frustration building when Belly keeps zoning out or changing her mind about things they already agreed on. It's like she's not fully in it. And Jeremiah is starting to wonder if it's just stress or something more. He's not ready to accuse her of anything, but his patience is wearing thin. Every time Conrad's name comes up, even in passing, you can see that tiny flicker in his eyes. That quiet jealousy is turning into suspicion. And once suspicion starts, it's hard to stop it from growing. Meanwhile, Conrad is having his own quiet battle. On the surface, he's just there, helping out when needed, staying calm, not making waves. But inside, he's a mess. He can't stop replaying that moment with Belly in his head. The way she looked at him, the way the air felt heavy between them, it's haunting him. He's telling himself it's better to stay out of it, to let her be happy with Jeremiah. But part of him keeps asking the same question: what if she still loves me? That what if is dangerous, because once you start thinking about it, it's almost impossible to let it go. The real tension starts when Taylor comes into the picture. She's one of the few people who can actually read Belly like a book, and she immediately notices something's off. At first, Belly tries to brush it off, saying she's just overwhelmed with wedding details. But Taylor's not buying it. She pushes. And eventually Belly lets slip that she and Conrad had a moment recently. She downplays it. But the second she says it, Taylor knows exactly what it means. Taylor's reaction is complicated, part shock, part I knew it, and maybe even a little excitement. Because Taylor has always been team follow your heart, and deep down, she knows that Belly's heart has never been fully out of Conrad's hands. The problem is, Taylor's not the type to keep something like this to herself for long. She might not run to Jeremiah and spill everything, but the fact that she now knows is going to change the way she interacts with both Conrad and Belly. And if Taylor runs into Conrad, which, let's be real, is inevitable, there's a good chance she'll confront him about it. The idea of those two talking about Belly behind her back adds another layer of tension. Because if either of them slips, Jeremiah is going to find out, and when he does, it's not going to be pretty. This section of the episode feels like watching a fuse burn slowly toward an explosion. Every conversation is loaded, even the lighthearted ones. Every smile feels like it might crack into something else. It's that uncomfortable quiet before the storm, when you know something big is coming but you don't know exactly when it's going to hit. And the longer it takes, the more dangerous it gets, because by the time the truth comes out, it's not just going to be about one moment between Belly and Conrad. It's going to be about everything they've been holding back for years. The turning point comes when Taylor and Conrad finally cross paths. It's not planned, not some big dramatic setup, just one of those random encounters that feel way more significant than they should. Taylor doesn't waste time with small talk. She dives right in, bringing up Belly and asking if he's noticed how different she's been lately. Conrad tries to play dumb at first, giving those short, clipped answers he's famous for, but Taylor sees right through it. She's not here for polite conversation, she's here for the truth. It doesn't take much pushing before Conrad lets his guard down, just a little. He admits that something happened between him and Belly recently, but he's careful with his words. He doesn't call it a moment the way Belly did, he just says they talked and that it was complicated. Taylor hears what he's not saying. She knows Conrad well enough to catch that flicker in his voice when he's holding back. And right now, she's sure of one thing: Conrad's feelings for Belly aren't gone. The more they talk, the more it becomes clear that Conrad's been fighting himself. He's torn between stepping in and risking everything, or stepping back and letting Belly marry Jeremiah even if it breaks him. Taylor doesn't make it easy for him. She tells him flat out that Belly isn't over him, no matter how much she tries to pretend otherwise. For a second, Conrad just stares at her, like he's trying to decide whether to believe her or push her words away, but deep down, he knows she's right. You can see it in the way his expression shifts, like something heavy just landed on his chest. This is where the tension really starts to build, because Taylor isn't just planting seeds in Conrad's mind, she's watering the ones that were already there. She reminds him of moments from the past, little things that might seem insignificant to anyone else but mean everything to them. The way Belly always looked for him first when she walked into a room, how she could finish his sentences without trying, the inside jokes that never needed explaining. Taylor doesn't have to say the obvious. That kind of connection doesn't just disappear. Conrad's silence says it all. But here's the problem: the more Taylor encourages him to think about Belly, the more conflicted he becomes. Because if he acts on it now, he's not just risking his own heart, he's risking blowing up Jeremiah's life, too. And as much as Conrad's tried to convince himself that Belly's happiness is all that matters, the thought of her marrying his brother while still carrying feelings for him feels unbearable. You can almost see the wheels turning in his head, like he's calculating whether confessing his feelings would be selfish, or finally doing the right thing. While this conversation is happening, Belly is completely unaware of it. She's off, handling another round of wedding tasks with Jeremiah, but her energy is different. She's distracted, short-tempered, and Jeremiah is noticing more than she realizes. There's a moment when he watches her from across the room, and you can see it on his face. He's not just thinking about seating charts anymore. He's thinking about whether the woman he's about to marry is still in love with someone else. By The end of this section, there's this unshakable feeling that something is shifting. Taylor has given Conrad the push he didn't know he needed. Jeremiah's growing suspicion is starting to turn into doubt. And Belly's walking a tightrope between her past and her future without realizing how close she is to falling. It's no longer a question of if something will happen, it's a question of when. And who's going to make the first move? Jeremiah isn't the type to let things eat away at him for long without speaking up. By this point in the episode, all those small signs he's been noticing, the way Belly zones out, the quick laughs with Conrad, the little shifts in her mood are starting to add up. He's not ready to explode, but you can feel the tension building inside him like a balloon about to pop. He starts asking more pointed questions. The kind that seem casual on the surface but are really fishing for the truth. Things like, "Did you see Conrad today?" Or "You've been quiet, something on your mind?" Belly answers quickly, almost too quickly, and that only fuels his suspicion. The real crack shows when they're sitting down with the caterer, going over menu options. Jeremiah brings up one of Conrad's favorite dishes, not even thinking much about it, and Belly's reaction is instant. She smiles without realizing it. It's small, but Jeremiah catches it. His jaw tightens just a little before he moves on with the conversation, but in his head, he's not moving on at all. It's like every moment he's with Belly now comes with a shadow, Conrad's shadow, and it's starting to drive him crazy. Meanwhile, Conrad is wrestling with the conversation he had with Taylor. Her words keep replaying in his head. "Belly isn't over you." It's one thing for him to suspect it himself, but hearing someone else say it out loud makes it harder to ignore. He tries to distract himself by helping Steven with a few things, but even Steven notices he's off. Conrad's quieter than usual, more distant, like he's deep in thought. If Steven pushes, Conrad just shrugs it off. But you can tell his mind is somewhere else entirely, and that somewhere else is Belly. Belly, for her part, is stuck in the middle without even realizing just how close things are to blowing up. She keeps telling herself she's making the right choice, that Jeremiah is the safe, steady option, but her heart isn't matching up with her words. It's not that she doesn't love Jeremiah, she does, but her feelings for Conrad never really went away. They were just buried, and now they're pushing their way back to the surface. And the more she tries to ignore them, the more obvious they become. The moment that really starts to shift everything comes later in the day, when all three of them end up in the same place again. It's supposed to be quick, just dropping off some things for the wedding, but the conversation turns awkward fast. Jeremiah makes a light comment about how Conrad seems to be around a lot lately, and Belly quickly jumps in to defend him, saying he's just helping out. Conrad stays quiet, but the way he looks at her says more than words ever could. It's one of those loaded silences that everyone in the room can feel, and Jeremiah feels it the most. After that, Jeremiah's whole mood changes. He's still smiling, still joking, but it's thinner now, like a mask he's holding up. You can tell he's starting to plan a conversation, a real one where he gets answers from Belly, even if he doesn't like what he hears. And once Jeremiah gets to that point, there's no going back. By the end of this section, we're standing right on the edge of the inevitable. Jeremiah's doubt is turning into determination. Conrad's guilt is battling against his longing, and Belly's caught between them, pretending she's fine when she's anything but. It's like everyone is circling the same truth, getting closer with every step. And you can feel it's only a matter of time before someone finally says it out loud. Jeremiah has reached the point where keeping quiet feels like torture. Every look, every laugh, every shift in Belly's voice when Conrad's name comes up, it's all been eating away at him. And now, it's like there's no space left inside him to hold it in. The confrontation doesn't happen in some dramatic storm or heated crowd. It's quiet, almost too quiet. They're in the living room, sorting through boxes for the wedding. Belly's talking about rehearsal, dinner seating, distractedly moving name cards around, when Jeremiah suddenly stops her mid-sentence. He doesn't raise his voice, at least not yet, but there's a sharpness in it, the kind that makes you freeze. "Belly," he says, locking eyes with her, "are you still thinking about Conrad?" The question hangs in the air, heavy and unshakable. For a moment, Belly's face is blank, like her mind hasn't even processed the words. Then her eyebrows pull together. Her lips part just slightly, and she laughs. It's small, nervous, unconvincing. She says, "Why would you even ask that?" and tries to keep moving name cards like nothing happened. But Jeremiah doesn't let her off the hook. He's been watching her too closely for too long. He tells her he's seen the way she's been lately, the way she drifts off mid-conversation, the way she smiles in a certain way when Conrad's name comes up, the way her mood shifts whenever Conrad walks into the room. He's not making accusations to be cruel, he's just desperate for honesty. He says he needs to know if she's really here with him 100%, or if part of her is still somewhere else. Belly's voice stays soft, but it wavers. She insists she's just stressed about the wedding. She says Conrad is in the past, that what they had is over, but her words sound rehearsed. almost like she's trying to convince herself as much as him. Jeremiah tilts his head, eyes narrowing. Because he can hear the crack in her voice even if she doesn't, then he brings up specifics. Moments Belly probably thought went unnoticed. How she lit up at the caterer's mention of Conrad's favorite dish, how she jumped in to defend him earlier without hesitation. How her laughter changes when Conrad's the one making her laugh. It's lighter, freer. Like something only he can pull out of her. Belly's chest tightens and she feels that prickle of guilt in her throat. She tries to argue that it's not like that Conrad is just Conrad. But Jeremiah is not buying it, and this is when it shifts from suspicion to vulnerability. Jeremiah tells her, I love you, you know I do. But I can't marry someone if part of their heart belongs to somebody else. The words are quiet. But they hit hard. It's not anger, it's fear. Fear of losing her, fear of being second choice. Fear that all this time he's been loving her while she's been holding on to someone else. Belly's eyes well up, not because she wants to hurt him, but because she knows there's truth in what he's saying. She hasn't let go of Conrad completely. And pretending she has is starting to feel impossible. She says nothing for a moment. Because saying the wrong thing could shatter everything. But silence can be just as loud, and Jeremiah hears it. Then, the knock on the door. It's so sudden it almost feels like a cruel twist of fate. Jeremiah opens it, and there's Conrad. Holding a box of decorations for the wedding, he steps inside. Without knowing, he's just walked into the middle of a storm. His eyes flick between Jeremiah's tense posture and Belly's tear-streaked face. And you can see the recognition hit. He knows something's wrong. Jeremiah doesn't explain. He takes the box from Conrad, mutters a thanks, and walks out of the room, leaving Conrad and Belly alone. The air is thick, heavy. Conrad starts to ask if she's okay, but Belly shakes her head. She's not ready to talk, not ready to admit that the fight she just had with Jeremiah was about him. And yet, there's something in Conrad's eyes, concern, yes, but also something deeper. Something he's been holding back for too long. They stand there, not speaking. Both knowing there's a truth between them that hasn't been said out loud in years. It's terrifying and comforting all at once. By the end of this section, the lines are no longer blurry, they're glowing neon. Jeremiah has pushed the question into the open. Belly is standing at the edge of a decision she's not ready to make. And Conrad has just been pulled into the center of it without even trying. It's no longer a slow build, it's a countdown. And there's no way to stop the clock. The rest of the evening feels like walking through fog. Every word, every glance feels loaded. Jeremiah is gone for a while, maybe cooling off. Maybe trying to figure out what to say next, or maybe deciding if he even wants to say anything at all. Belly stays in the kitchen with Conrad. Her hands fidgeting with the corner of a napkin she doesn't even realize she's tearing apart. She wants to break the silence. But the weight of what just happened makes her throat feel like it's closing. Conrad finally asks, what happened? His voice is low, careful. Like he already knows the answer but is giving her the chance to decide if she'll say it. Belly shakes her head at first, muttering that it's nothing. Just a stupid argument. But Conrad's eyes don't leave her. He's calm, but there's an intensity there, like he can see straight through her words. She tries to change the subject, asking about the decorations, the flowers, anything that will move them away from the edge. But Conrad doesn't take the bait. Instead, he says something that freezes her. If he's upset because of me, you should tell me. There's no accusation in his tone, but there's an honesty that feels almost dangerous. Belly swallows hard, forcing a small smile and insisting again that it's nothing, but inside her chest is pounding. The sound of the front door opening breaks the moment. Jeremiah's back, his expression is unreadable. Like he's decided not to give away how he feels. He walks past both of them without a word and starts going through the decorations. In the box, Belly watches him, hoping he'll look at her, but he doesn't. The silence between them feels louder than any shouting could. Dinner that night is quiet. Everyone's there: Steven, Laurel, even a few friends who came early for the wedding, but the tension between Belly, Jeremiah, and Conrad is thick enough to notice. Steven cracks jokes, trying to fill the air, but Belly barely hears them. She keeps her eyes on her plate, and every time she feels Conrad's gaze on her, she forces herself to look anywhere else. Jeremiah is polite, even smiles once or twice, but it's a smile with no warmth behind it. Later, when everyone's gone and the house is still, Belly finds Jeremiah out on the porch. He's leaning against the railing, looking out at the water. She steps out quietly, unsure if she's welcome. For a long moment, they just stand there, the sound of the waves filling the space between them. Then Jeremiah speaks, his voice calm but firm. I don't want to be the guy who's just holding onto you while you're wishing you were somewhere else. Belly's chest tightens. She wants to promise him he's wrong, that she's here and only here. But the truth is tangled and messy, and she's not sure she can untangle it tonight. She says she loves him because she does. But she knows that love is complicated when the past keeps bleeding into the present. Jeremiah nods, but his eyes tell her he's not fully convinced. He says they'll talk more tomorrow, but the way he walks back inside feels final, like something has shifted that can't be shifted back. Alone on the porch, Belly takes a deep breath, thinking maybe she can just push through the wedding, hold it all together. But then the door opens again, and this time it's Conrad. He steps outside, his hands in his pockets, and for a second they just look at each other, no words, no excuses, just that unspoken history between them, loud as ever. Conrad finally says, "I don't know what happened tonight, but I don't want to see you hurt." His voice is steady, but his eyes flicker with something more. Belly feels the air tighten between them. She starts to say she's fine, but the words catch. Because she's not fine, not with Jeremiah, not with Conrad, not with herself. The moment stretches, and for just a second, it feels like they're both remembering everything, every summer, every fight, every kiss. But before either of them can say anything else, Jeremiah's voice calls from inside, sharp and direct, "Belly." She turns toward the door, and when she looks back at Conrad, he's already looking away. She walks inside, not knowing if she's walking toward something or away from it. Jeremiah's standing there, holding the seating chart in one hand and a pen in the other. "We need to figure this out," he says. His tone is calm, but there's no mistaking the weight behind it, and that's where it ends. No resolution, no clear answer, just three people standing on the edge of choices that will change everything. The wedding is days away, but right now, the real question isn't about flowers or seating charts. It's about whether this wedding will even happen at all. Because love in this house isn't just complicated, it's explosive. And when it blows, nobody's walking away untouched.